Hello my dear friends, how is it going? I'm Ari Theriger and today, once again, I shall speak a little bit about the Uruz rune. An esoteric approach and a sort of remake, as I've already spoken about this rune before, but the very first videos on the esoteric approach to the runes and their meanings in terms of divination methods did not have as many details as the last videos I have done. The amount of interest from your part concerning my esoteric approach to the runes increased over time, over the 3 years of my rune series, so I started to focus a lot more on the development of each rune and their meanings for divinatory purposes. As such, I wanted to remake at least the first ETH to give you extra information, which I think it may prove to be useful precisely when using the runes as a medium concerning prophecy, or let's say, when employing the runes on methods that create a basis for prediction as well as to create a certain insight concerning the many facets of life's cycles. There's no point in repeating myself. You have all the previous videos where I have already offered many explanations, although I underline that these rune series are my own esoteric approach to the runes. For videos concerning an academic study, a scientific study of the runes, you can find them on another completely different folder in this channel. So, let's get right into it, shall we? My dear friends, please, let's get started. Well then, the rune Uruz, which is often associated with the male figure, the masculine, as more than half of the runes conventionally accepted to be the sequence of the so-called Elder Futhark are also associated with the male figure. Which is unsurprising, as the first esoteric meanings concerning the runes are drawn from the meanings of tarot cards, which present associations and meanings that perfectly fit into the mentality of the 15th and the 16th centuries, when there was a great development of tarot cards, but perhaps most especially in the 1700s. So, to the runes it was added an approach in meaning equivalent to the tarot, such a meaning that has been created at least over 300 years ago and actually nothing to do with the runes. The tarot being a card system which originated from various parts of Europe, as you know it, and produced as an oracle. So much of the mentality of the time was passed on to the contemporary esoteric understanding of the runes, perpetuating stereotypes in relation to gender associations, and what was socially and religiously stipulated with regard to the activities that were attributed to the masculine and the feminine of the westernized societies following the developments of the occult and the esotericism of the European Renaissance. So, since Uruz is often associated with the aurochs, the Eurasian wild ox, it is often associated with strength, endurance, courage, freedom, independence, and the strength of will and character. And therefore, as these traits were often associated with the male figure, with the masculine, it became a rune associated with the male figure. And many authors to this day continue to reinforce this male-centric perspective drawn from the tarot and the obsolete stereotypical social gender associations of the westernized world. Sometimes it cannot be helped, as some people really lack the intelligence to move forward and adapt to the ever-changing evolution of human mentality itself. Although this male-centric perspective and in association with the aurochs isn't at all disassociate. And some authors have pointed out an esoteric approach to this rune as being a rune associated with a male initiation rite, a masculine initiation rite. And I think there's an important lesson to be taken here concerning the romanticism revolving around hunting and the act of hunting as a rite of passage. I'm not going to develop on the romanticism linked with the activity of hunting in this video. There will be a time and place for it, but it is curious that the aurochs was one of those animals now extinct, belonging to the Eurasian megafauna, that has been hunted till extinction, and there's a largely misconception here concerning hunting and the need for the human being to hunt in order to have sustenance and to survive. Whatever romanticism or romanticisms we have been dealing with concerning hunting for survival, the historical records and the archaeological contexts show otherwise. The great majority of hunting activities have constituted a male rite of passage, an action of imposing male rule over the wild kingdom and the display of male strength and prowess. I'm not saying that hunting did not serve as another means of sustenance in specific periods and in certain cultural pockets to this day, actually, but the fact is that the great majority of hunting activities, or the hunting activity itself, has served purposes other than a means of sustenance. The great majority of hunting activities throughout human history are activities linked to the warrior groups as a form of training and to harden the individual for future battles and to facilitate the killing of another, as well as to show strength, prowess, manliness, virility as a performance or a display in a rite of passage when young male individuals become adults and accepted as such within their societies. In other words, a spectacle to demonstrate manliness and aspects that were understood to be key elements that build a male character. As Graham Harvey and Corey Lee Ran have rightly pointed out, in both indigenous societies, past and present, and in ancient warrior societies, certain animals become power animals, which means they have been seen as particular animals that hold a type of power that human warriors and hunters want to acquire, as a power, force, and even a spiritual ability that is absorbed by those who kill the power animal, and thus they are infused with such a power that will give them the possibility to become better warriors and better hunters precisely through the absorbance of such a power. In many occasions, this spiritual power or ability is the very thing the young warrior and or the hunter is seeking to obtain in order to become an adult, in order to become a man and build up the male character required within the society that person belongs to. So in several instances, hunting becomes an activity apart, far beyond the economic role and far from subsistence. Hunting becoming an activity for specific members of the community who seek, through hunting, the power of their animal kin. More often than not, hunting wasn't and hasn't been for the sake of subsistence, unless you either live in an environment completely devoid of flora and impossible to do agriculture and gathering, and therefore the only way is hunting, or if the territory is invaded by external societies, such is the case of colonialism, which has abruptly changed the lifestyle of indigenous peoples, forcing them to live in restricted areas, losing grounds of natural resources, forced to hunt as the only means of survival. However, aside from those very specific occurrences, more often hunting was and is engaged for ritual purposes, attaining skills to reassert male and human supremacy, or for the entertainment of the nobility and other groups higher in the hierarchy of human communities and not always part of the economy or for subsistence. It's no coincidence that the Eurasian megafauna that presented big horns, antlers, or tusks have been hunted till extinction. And to this day, elephants are one of the most sought animals for hunting activities for their tusks and not for their meat. For human sport and to assert supremacy and male prowess and to show signs of virility, strength, and manliness. In the case of the rune Uruz, it is often associated with the aurochs, as I've said, and make no mistake, the aurochs did not become extinct because human societies needed to hunt to have a means of sustenance. Like so many of Europe's megafauna, the aurochs met their end at the hands of humans because their horns were highly coveted as hunting trophies. So the associations between Uruz, the male figure, and the aurochs isn't really disconnected in this aspect. Hunting animals to reassert male and human supremacy as well as for entertainment to demonstrate signs of manliness, courage, endurance, virility, and such, as traits that have been assumed to constitute the basis of male character. So I think there's an important lesson to be had here. Sometimes we struggle so fervently to fit in and to be able to accompany the demands of a society or even of a group and community we belong to or want to belong to. Sometimes we cease to be ourselves and we never get the opportunity to express our true selves because we want to be accepted according to the social, religious, and even political and economic standards of our time and the pressure of the collective mentality of our civilizations. We end up becoming someone we are not. We become a walking, living cliche, shallow, forced to be like everyone else as it is demanded by the socially stipulated stereotypes. We hunt the innocent animal just to prove that we are strong and to assert and occasionally having to reassert our character. To fit into the demanded illusions of a group, not only we cause harm to others, but to ourselves too. Following others doesn't build character. Following what is demanded of us just to show specific traits so we can be accepted doesn't build character. What builds character is being ourselves, expressing ourselves, and going against the illusionary systems that impose specific conducts in order to accept its members. What builds character is showing our individuality, which is the foundations of our own personality. What builds character is our own uniqueness and staying true to what distinguishes us from others. The same way that hunting the aurochs simply creates an illusion of character just to be accepted as a male and we end up being more of the same, simply a stereotype, the living and breathing banality of a social construct. Everything else we do in life just to fit in and be accepted under a label is also a self-illusion, and we live and die without ever truly expressing our individuality, our uniqueness, the very thing that makes us distinct and independent, because Uruz is also associated with independence. And the independence of assuming and accepting who we are is often overlooked. We should avoid living a life in search for trophies to feed our ego, for self-aggrandizement, and to construct an illusionary image of ourselves that stands on the foundations of a false and weak character, which will eventually crumble and fall apart completely when we realize we are nothing but a shallow fabrication of thoughts and actions that only ever meant something to others. But in truth, we end up lacking content, sense, and significance. It's important to never forget our individuality, our uniqueness. And this also goes to the individuality of couples. Sometimes we are in a relationship and we transform ourselves and shape our nature and character to fit into the character of the other person. It surely is important to work and show our efforts to make someone else happy and feel loved. However, sometimes we completely put aside our own nature to please another and we end up forgetting who we were. We stop doing the things we love. We stop being our true selves. And one day we sit down and find ourselves in a relationship that no longer makes us happy because we have reshaped our character, our entire character, for another and completely destroyed our individuality. So we become unhappy and frustrated, and we often blame it on the other, the incapacity and incapability of preserving our own identity. I think it is certainly important to care for another and want to see them happy and demonstrate our love, but it is equally important to maintain our own individuality as well. Someone loves us because of our character as well. But love, unfortunately, isn't enough if we want to build a healthy relationship. A strong character is also needed, and quite often relationships come to an end because it becomes dull, frustrating, there's a strong sense of unhappiness, dejection even, and so love dwindles and shrinks and ultimately it fades away because our individuality is no more and we are unhappy with ourselves, and that will eventually reflect on the relationship. A couple isn't the construction of a single identity. A couple is the combined identities of those involved in the relationship. Not only it is important to maintain alive the flame of our own individual character, but also respect the other person's individuality and character. We should indeed strive to maintain a relationship healthy and strong if it is important to us, but we must not forget about the individual identity of each and respect that individuality. Being able to adapt our character to the circumstance is essential, just as it is essential to maintain our essence, to maintain precisely what makes us unique and different, and to express that uniqueness, which is, after all, one of the most important factors that makes someone else fall in love with us. So, always demonstrate your individuality, that which makes you unique, the very essence of your own existence that demonstrates that you are not more of the same just to be accepted. This is perhaps the true potential of the independence associated with Uruz, the strength of your character. After all, the previous rune, Fehu, often represents domesticated cattle, and so Uruz is understood as the wild, undomesticated aurochs as a symbol of independence, strength of will and character and freedom. If we live an entire life to please others and forget to express the originality of our identity, we lack character, and we depend on the constructed illusion of ourselves just to be accepted by others. And as such, we depend on external approval just to feel wanted and loved, forgetting to love ourselves and never showing the world our true potential, our true strength, and the beautiful freedom of our thoughts and desires, and ultimately having a sense of never truly being free. So, if Uruz is associated with the strength of character, perhaps it is safe to say that it is also associated with the Old Norse concept of hemingia, as the projected essence of an individual, the spiritual shape of character itself, as the force that influences our luck. We are all subject to a variety of consequences as we walk through life, and many unfortunate circumstances are not of our making. Sometimes we are simply born in a certain period, environment, and even social circumstances that are beyond ourselves, and it's hard to walk past those circumstances and to get out in order to evolve and give ourselves a better life. The stronger the hemingia is, the more chances of success we have. Even if we are stuck in an existence that isn't our fault, it can always be worse. So the stronger our hemingia, the stronger our spiritual luck, and therefore we extend and augment our chances to thrive and to triumph. We increase our fortune and the possibility to be victorious. We strengthen our hemingia by building a strong character, and a strong character builds an even stronger hemingia. One does not live without the other, right? Again, certain circumstances in our life are beyond us and many misfortunes not of our making, but it is important to be faithful to our individuality, to once again express our unique identity, building a strong character and a strong will, because failure is easy and failure is always there if we simply give up. Having a strong character doesn't mean that we will always succeed, okay? But at least we have more and better chances of success. Sometimes building a strong character is all that matters, as at least we will be comfortable in the acceptance of our identity, and the heavy weight of life's struggles can be a little more bearable if our character is strong, because we shield ourselves with the traits and elements that makes us special, unique, with a singularity that is unprecedented and unrepeatable. As such, no one will be able to destroy our character and throw us down even more than life already does, because our sturdy mentality becomes an impregnable shield against all the forces that are determined to bring us down. We become like Uruz. We become like the aurochs, determined, persistent, and independent. And we survive for as long as it is possible, and once we are gone, we become just like the aurochs, a symbol of perseverance and strength and determination. We become the raw primeval power of nature, the embodiment of the spiritual willpower that lies in the very core of our existence, enduring the elements, occurrences, and conditions of life's cycles. we build up a character that is the embodiment of the tenacious Aurochs. Uruz is the passion of our freedom as unique individuals with a character as strong and enduring as the fervent willpower of our very spirit. Alright, my dear friends, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Just a brief additional information on the essence of Uruz to be added to my older take on this rune. Thank you so much for watching, see you on the next video, and as always, thank you for today.